Marcus Reed had been mopping floors at Pinnacle Tower for 6 years. Every single morning he arrived before the sun came up, brewed the first pot of coffee in the break room, and made sure the marble floors gleamed like mirrors before the executives arrived in their expensive suits and shinier shoes. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. He never complained. He never asked for recognition. He just worked quietly and honestly because he had a reason to. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, who waited for him every evening with a drawing she'd made at school. Marcus was a single dad, and Lily was his entire world. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, and since that day, every mop stroke, every late shift, every aching muscle was for her. He didn't need praise. He needed the paycheck. Richard Holt, the CEO of Pinnacle Enterprises, was the kind of man who treated the building like his kingdom and the people in it like furniture, useful only when needed, invisible otherwise. He had built his company from a wealthy inheritance and a string of ruthless decisions, and he wore his arrogance like a tailored suit. On a Tuesday morning that started like any other, Richard stormed into the lobby in a foul mood after a difficult board meeting. His coffee had been the wrong temperature. His car had been 3 minutes late. Small things, but Richard Holt did not tolerate small failures. He rounded the corner near the elevator bank and walked straight into Marcus, who was wringing out his mop near a wet floor sign that was clearly visible. Richard's polished shoe caught the edge of the damp tile, and he slipped, grabbing the mop cart to catch himself, sending a bucket of soapy water splashing across the freshly cleaned floor. A crowd of employees watched from the lobby, frozen. Richard straightened up, face red, and turned to Marcus with cold fury. "You did this on purpose," he said loudly, loud enough for everyone to hear. Marcus looked at him calmly. "Sir, the sign was up." "I'm sorry you slipped, but don't give me excuses," Richard snapped, cutting him off. "Do you have any idea who I am? I own this building. I own every floor you've ever mopped." He turned to HR manager Sandra, who stood nearby with wide eyes. "Fire him today. I don't want to see this man in my building again." The lobby went silent. Marcus stood still, holding his mop, not crying, not begging, just watching Richard with quiet dignity that somehow made the CEO look smaller. Sandra looked uncomfortable. A few junior employees exchanged horrified glances. Marcus simply nodded, removed his employee badge, placed it on the reception desk, and walked toward the exit without a single word. That could have been the end of the story, and another working man, crushed by a careless, powerful one. Office and congratulating himself for maintaining order. A sound cut through the city noise outside, the rhythmic thudding of helicopter blades. Everyone near the windows looked out. A sleek private helicopter was descending onto the rooftop, helipad of the building directly across the street. The gleaming headquarters of Vantage Capital, the largest investment firm in the country. Marcus Reed, who had just exited through the front doors and was walking down the sidewalk, stopped walking. A black car pulled up beside him. A man in a suit stepped out, spoke to Marcus briefly, and then Marcus, still in his janitor uniform, got into the car. Word traveled fast in corporate circles. Within the hour, Sandra received a call that made her close her office door and sit down heavily in her chair. Marcus Reed, it turned out, was not simply a janitor. He had been, until 4 years ago, one of the lead architects behind Vantage Corp, a proprietary financial software system that Vantage Capital had been trying to recover and rebuild since Marcus had quietly stepped away after his wife's illness. He had left everything, the salary, the title, the boardroom, to care for her, and then for Lily. He had never told anyone at Pinnacle Tower. He had simply needed steady hours and a reliable paycheck while he figured out his next move. Vantage Capital's new CEO, a woman named Diana Cho, who had taken over 8 months ago, had spent months tracking him down. The helicopter had brought her legal team and a contract worth more than Richard Holt's entire annual bonus structure. Richard was called into a board meeting that same afternoon, not to preside over it, but to answer to it. Three of Pinnacle's biggest investors had ties to Vantage Capital, and they did not appreciate the footage, already circulating internally, of their CEO publicly humiliating a man they deeply respected. Richard Holt resigned by the end of the week. Marcus signed with Vantage Capital on a Thursday. He picked Lily up from school on Friday, just like always, and she handed him a drawing of a helicopter. He laughed for the first time in a long time. He put it on the refrigerator next to all the others. Some people wear their worth on their sleeves. Others carry it quietly in calloused hands in early mornings, waiting for the world to catch up. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories, where every story is a reminder that kindness always wins in the end.